Hello, welcome to Bourbon and a Baby. My name is Jay. Max is not going to be joining us today because it's almost his bedtime, so he'll be asleep soon. But I'm really excited today because I have a really special guest. Um, Pretty much the perfect guest to have on this channel for this concept of talking bourbon and babies. She is a mom of two, has two boys in their teenage years, so that'll be cool to talk about. And she also works for the ABV Network, so she's very well versed in bourbon. Um, she is works for Bourbon Sasquatch division of the ABV Network. She has run the youth music department of her church, and has also run a music program called Music Together, where they did music with kids and the parents. So I'm excited to talk about that as well. Her name is Susie Youngson. So everybody, welcome Susie. Hey, Susie.
Hi.
How's it going? Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Like I said in the intro, I'm so excited to talk to you. You are like the perfect guest for
Oh no, I
this
hope I
show.
can live up to that.
Well, and you have a lot that I can learn from you. Your boys, like I said, are both in their teenage years, so you have loads of experience that you can hopefully impart some onto me.
Yeah, and hopefully helpful and not like fatalistic.
Yeah, no horror stories.
Yeah, no, I'll save them.
But yeah, do you want to maybe introduce yourself a little bit further?
Yeah, sure. My name's Susie. I live in Birmingham, Alabama, and like you said, I work for the ABV Network in the Bourbon Sasquatch division, which is the newest part of that company. And so I work in the TV movie side and writing music for those things, which is something I never thought I would be doing. I did go to school for music and I have a degree in it, but I just thought I would teach. So I started in teaching choirs, and then moved into, like we talked about, Music Together with preschoolers and their parents, and teach at my church. And then all of a sudden I was into bourbon, and now I'm writing music for bourbon things.
Yeah, that's like that's a cool like career path. Like
Yeah, it's a weird trajectory. It feels a little
yeah.
bad, but it
It
works.
sounds like really interesting though. So that's cool. And we have some good bourbon to drink tonight too.
Yes, I'm excited about that.
Do you want to start maybe with some Colonel E.H. Taylor?
Yes, I do. I do. Let me get that out, and it's a new one. So
Nice.
yeah. There we go.
Oh, that was a much better cork pop than mine.
Well, yours is well loved, so
Yeah, true.
yours probably is nice and open and aerated. And
Yeah, mine is we're getting close to the bottom here. So it's always a sad day when you kill off a really good bottle.
it's hard to find.
Yeah. Luckily, I do have a backup though.
Okay, good.
Just one. I try to. I'm not a hoarder. I'm not a bourbon hoarder.
Good. That's good.
So
Good to know
how did you get into bourbon initially?
Well, I have a good friend who sort of brought me into the world of bourbon by we would go to concerts and stuff, and when you go to the bar, I'd get Makers and Coke because that was always my go-to. And when we would go to kind of nicer bars, she said, well, why don't you leave out the Coke and try it that way and see what you think? And then she said, and instead of that, why don't you try this? And then, you start to realize that each one has its own character and they're all different. And then we, toured some distilleries, and it just kind of took off from there. So it's been a really fun hobby for me to get into. And
it's the best kind of hobby because you get to drink while you're doing it. So
yeah. How did you get into it?
I used to always equate bourbon or whiskey with like Jack, like doing shots, stuff like that. And so I'm terrible at doing shots. I can't do them.
Really.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, like there was a time, I'm well past that time, but there was a time where like being able to do shots was cool.
Yeah.
So I was never that cool because I couldn't do shots. I would like take little sips of them, which I guess is good practice now. But so I always stayed away from whiskey for the longest time, and I kept like I would have these conversations with my wife, kind of embarrassingly. I'd be like, I want to like get into bourbon, but I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I need to like force myself into it. Um, so I think it was like a New Year's Eve dinner. We were out with some friends, and somebody ordered bourbon at the restaurant we were at, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I ordered it with ginger ale, and
Oh.
I'm like, I was like, I like that because I love ginger ale, but I'm like, this tastes way better than just regular ginger ale. So eventually, I got to the point to where then I went out and I bought my own bottle, and I would like still use ginger ale, but I would like use less and less each time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And, yeah. Then finally, I'm like, okay, you know what? I am starting to like this, and then it just like took off from there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What were you mixing with ginger ale? What was your first go-to?
So the very first one at that restaurant was Angel's Envy.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Not something I would like mix with ginger ale anymore, but
yeah, I thought that was really good actually.
it was. That's what I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then it just shortly after that, I actually went down to Kentucky. I live up in Ohio, so took a trip down to Kentucky and toured a couple distilleries, and then like I really fell in love with it and got into making it a hobby.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what do you normally get about with E.H. Taylor here?
Well, this one, I usually Taylor gives me. I just brushed my teeth. That was probably a bad idea. Usually, I get like butterscotch discs. You know those Brock's ones.
Yeah.
In front, yeah.
I can actually pick that up right now. I get that butterscotch. It's like really, I get a lot of sweetness up front on the nose, and I also get I can really smell that toasted oakness.
Yeah, yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's so good. Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's helping get rid of the toothpaste there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure that's a little bit different of a combination.
But the caramel's cutting through there. It's working.
That's good. Yeah, it is really caramely.
Yeah.
Really, really oaky. And really, 100 proof, really easy to drink at 100 proof even. It is nice and warm, but goes down pretty easy.
Dangerously easy to drink.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always considered this to be one of my just favorites.
Yeah. It's one to have if you can find it.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Like this bottle here, I happened to just be walking through my local liquor store one day and it was there.
That's
like, oh, cool.
Yeah, that was a good day.
Yeah, I've not seen one on the shelf since. So
yeah.
I had to procure my backup bottle. But yeah.
Yeah. Are you one that you can't open a new one until you have a backup ready to go?
I don't do that often, but yeah, I was definitely nursing this bottle for a while. So now that I have a backup, I'll feel much better about finishing it off.
Okay, good.
But I'm like that though. I've always that's just kind of been a personality trait of mine, just with anything, that I never want to finish anything. Like I want to always have some to enjoy, whether it's no matter what it is. So sometimes I'll find things like whether it's some type of a candy or something. I'll find that like in the back of a cabinet somewhere that I just didn't finish off because I was saving it. And then by the time I find it again, it's too late. So then
I feel that way about Girl Scout cookies right now because it's kind of the end of the season and they've all sold out. And I have a 13 and 16-year-old boy in the house, and so I have to hide them because I need to know I have one box of Thin Mints somewhere that only I can get to because they will disappear instantly.
Thin Mints and Tagalongs.
Oh yeah. Those were the best.
Oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah,
I,
and I
I have a
can't make
box of each right now.
too because nobody likes them but me. So at least I know I'll have those.
Which one did you say?
The Samoas, the like
Okay.
ones.
Yeah, I'm not a coconut person.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Not many people are. I've found, which is great because there's more for me. But my kids don't like it, so I know I'll always have those.
Yeah, just load those up.
Yeah.
You were supposed to go on a barrel pick today,
I was.
and it got canceled.
It got canceled.
So 1792, right?
Yes. Yeah, we were going to go pick a bottled in Bond, and
Mm.
I'm hoping it will be rescheduled and not just totally canceled. There was a open sort of like free for all where clubs and things could get on and book through Buffalo Trace and 1792 all in one day. And so our club was on there and we were clicking as fast as we could. And I was the only one that got one, and it was this. But up until last week, we were still ready to go. And then 2 days ago, they said, nope, we just shut down all operations. So I think they're probably making hand sanitizer now. It's good.
Right. Right. I have a couple of local distilleries around here in Ohio that I follow. Both today have posted that they're making hand sanitizer. So
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's needed, so I'm glad they're doing it. But what a change for the people that are used to like having to nose and taste things along the way. Just make straight rubbing alcohol. That's all you can do right now.
Right. Had you done a barrel pick before, or this?
I have, but not on. This was going to be the first one on site. I did one for Elijah Craig, and we did that with samples. So they sent us 3 samples from different barrels, and we just kind of did it separately and voted on which one we wanted, and we ended up with a great one, and it's so good. But that's a completely different experience, probably, from going and getting it right out of the barrel and drilling into it.
Yeah,
all that.
Yeah. I have not done. I've done similar to how you did, where I did a Jefferson's Reserve pick.
Okay.
But it was samples, so yeah, I haven't had that experience of going to the distillery and thieving it out and all that stuff. So one of these days,
I'll to go do that.
Now, what organization do you do that through?
We actually don't talk about it. It's like Fight Club.
Okay. Yeah. I like it. Well, if that pick ever gets rescheduled, you'll have to send me a sample of what you guys get.
I absolutely will. I would love to.
Awesome. Yeah, that it's amazing. Like when I did that Jefferson's Reserve pick, I think they sent us 5 samples.
Okay.
And from sample to sample, they're so different from each other.
Yeah. In color, like even though I think even the ones we got were maybe even all from the same warehouse, but they were so different. I mean, absolutely. 2 of them were fantastic, and we really couldn't pick between them. But they were all great, but very different.
Yeah. So I did the Jefferson's Reserve one through a bar that I work at part time. And so the owner of the bar had done barrel picks himself, and I wasn't. He did those more before, like at the beginning of like when I worked there. So I wasn't quite in like that loop yet, so I didn't get to go on those. But when we did the Jefferson's one, he wanted the employees to have more of a say in it than just him. And I was the only employee there, even though it's a bourbon bar, that was like really into bourbon. Everybody else, knew a little bit here and there, but weren't so much into it. And there was one in particular that was just stood out from all the rest of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they better pick this one.
Yeah. You can't influence the decision, but maybe a little bit.
Yeah. So 2 of them actually picked a different one, and but myself, the owner, and then the person that ran the program that we go through, all could obviously zero in on that one, and so that luckily that was the one that was chosen. Yeah, it was so good.
Good.
Yeah, this E.H. Taylor. My wife, before I started this channel, I think I had about maybe 30 bourbons, and so I wanted to do an experiment, and so had her set up different flights of 4 blind for me,
Mhm.
and then I would like pick my favorite of each one, and then like bracket them and all that. And this came in second place out of everything I had.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, definitely one of my favorites.
All right, what was first then?
The other one we're gonna drink tonight.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. Now I've added stuff since then, so who
You
knows?
have to redo it. Since
Yeah,
we don't have March Madness, that can be your sport.
there you go. That's totally cool with me.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about having teenage boys. Like, what is that experience like?
Um, I'm just gonna say this and knock on wood at the same time. It's not bad. It's not
Good,
bad.
good.
I have excellent, easy kids, and they've kind of been that way for the most part for their whole lives. But yeah, I really haven't had the eye rolling and the stomping and the door slamming and all of that stuff. They really just kind of do their own thing and keep their head down, do their work, and they grumble a little bit about chores, but I do too. So that's okay.
For sure. Yeah.
Now, my 16-year-old, he just turned 16 in February, and so he is driving. And unfortunately, his second time out, he totaled
Oh no.
my car.
Okay, is he okay though?
He's fine. And
That's good.
the car was a 2011, so it was older anyway, and it didn't look that damaged, but the amount, wasn't worth fixing.
Right.
So, we had to say goodbye to that. So while we're sitting in quarantine, I'm gonna have to pick a new car and somehow get it, but I don't have to go anywhere, so there's not really a rush.
Right.
Yeah, he felt terrible. He had gone to his piano lesson and dropped his brother off at Boy Scouts, and then came back and picked them both up, and they were leaving a parking lot, and he just missed the warning that he got from the officer said failure to yield. So he had a little collision with someone who had the right of way, which was unfortunate, but learn to hope.
How difficult was it that very first time letting him like just drive off on his own without anybody else with him?
It was a little nerve-wracking, and if I'd known that the second time he was going to wreck, it would have been worse. But
Yeah, right.
he went. It was great because he went to the grocery store and picked up a bunch of groceries that I needed and came back. So it wasn't like he was going off gallivanting with friends or anything. It was down the street and back. And he's really responsible. Since he was like 5, he would tell me if I was going over the speed limit in my own car. So he's one that's just always going to go by the rules unless he somehow forgets them.
Well, that's good. I mean, that has to help out, because I can imagine it'd be at least a little bit nerve-wracking, like kind of just letting go that first time. And just...
Yeah, it is. And I'll tell you, getting a text from his brother that said we were in a crash was, I mean, I've never jumped up faster in my life and put on my coat and ran out the door. And then I got the phone and I said, "Where are you? And are you okay?" And they were like, "We're okay. We're just banged up." So, yeah.
I might have been 17, but I was in an accident when I was that age, and it wasn't my fault. A lady she failed to yield and hit me, totaled my car though.
Oh.
But I was so I remember, even though it wasn't my fault, just being so like nervous and scared. Like the police showed up. I hadn't really had any run-ins with police before, and like
it's serious when they show up.
Yeah. I just remember being like so nervous and scared and afraid, like, even though again it wasn't my fault, I was like afraid to tell my parents.
And then let me ask you this: were you afraid to drive again? Because that's what we're dealing with now. Is he's like, I don't really want to drive anymore.
Yeah, no, but I wasn't, but I think that had to do with that. That was out of my control. So but yeah, that didn't bother me on that front.
Okay, well, hopefully he'll want to. I made him drive to school the next day with me in the car, but he's asked him if he'll want to drive here or there, and he's like, "Oh, not really." Hopefully we can get back on the horse.
A little gun shy. That's understandable though.
Yeah.
What? I like that you said that they've been, knock on wood, pretty easy, because I feel bad sometimes when I talk to other parents and they like go through these horror stories, or no, maybe not even necessarily horror stories, but
Difficulties.
difficulties they have. And Max is just turned 13 months old, and he's been like so easy.
Yeah.
We've no problem. He eats everything we've fed him. Took to every bottle, when he was a baby, like whether it was formula or breast milk, like we switched up formulas on him, and he never had any issues whatsoever. And he slept after about 6 or 7 weeks. He pretty much slept through the night for the most part, or if he would only wake up once maybe.
Yeah.
So like knock on wood, that it's nice to know that can continue.
Yeah, it can. So you are describing my first child.
Okay.
It was super easy as a baby. Never really cried. I remember asking a friend later, I said, what is this whole cry it out thing? Because I just put him in his crib and he goes to sleep. And later she said, I hated you a little bit when you said that. And then I had my second child, and I thought it was me, that I had done everything right. But you soon find out that they just are all different and they have their own personalities. And my sweet, now 13-year-old did not sleep for 3.5 years.
Wow.
It was absolutely exhausting. And everything we did really changed anything. And he was kind of picky to eat. And he was fun loving and easygoing, except if I were to put him down or leave him in any way. And then he just was not having it. Although at 13, he does not want me around that much. So.
How is dealing with that? Like, because Max, I want him to like grow up and I want him to experience all these things, but I don't want him to ever grow up at the same time. Like I want him to stay this like little baby forever.
Yeah, that's tough, because I was just saying the other day, like, I wish I could just like rewind you just for a minute and go back to like when you were 4 and used to say all these adorable things, but at the same time, like, I don't really want to go back there for a long time. So, but what's great is that it's like you've experienced this little person all along the way, and that seed of their personality, that doesn't change. So you still have that person who they were as a baby, but you get to see it kind of grow and bloom into this, now young adult for me. They still have that essence of who they always were, even when they were born. So you can go back and look at videos and pictures and remember all of that, but I wouldn't trade having the, grown up version now.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll be the same. It's just when he's in this stage, it's just like, oh my gosh, just never grow up, never get bigger.
Yeah. I read something the other day that almost made me cry. It said, one day you'll put your child down for the last time and you won't realize it was the last time.
Yeah.
It's hard. You're like,
I bet. Yeah. I think because I had Max, I'm almost 40. So being older when having my first and our plan to be only child, but I think I can appreciate kind of this experience more being a little bit older. Whereas if I would have had him when I was younger, I don't know if I would, not that I wouldn't have appreciated it, but I think I can kind of sit back and know that like these are times to really cherish and things like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was 27 when I had my first one, and I think I would do things a little bit differently now if that were the case, which it's not going to be. But
yeah, right.
I think I would parent differently. And my sister actually had her kids. She's older than I am, but she has younger kids than I do because they just got started later. And watching her being the older parent, and in her circle, she just has so much more patience and wisdom than I ever did when I was with these kids, thinking, oh my gosh, what did I do? This is so hard. So yeah, there's definitely an advantage, I think, to starting older.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the patience part has been a big one for me. That's something that when I was younger, I definitely had less of.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
even though Max has been like a really good baby, those times where doesn't mean that we haven't had some rough times.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think those times are a little bit easier to deal with now. You know, just sit and be like, okay, just it's okay, we'll get through this.
Mhm, mhm. But did you notice, like, did you feel like you had a loss of independence since you were, baby free for so long? Was that a hard thing?
I was actually really worried about that.
Mhm,
But no, I think that we did a lot of things that we wanted to do
mhm,
before, and now it's just like, what would we do now? Especially now that he's here, like we can't imagine our lives without him or before him almost. And I think yeah, a big part of that is that yeah, a lot of the things that we wanted to do, we did. We had we probably partied a little bit into our later years than most
mhm.
people did, and but took some great vacations and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't feel like I'm really missing out. I feel like um, other than showing up and potentially being like the oldest dad, picking your kid up from school, uh, uh, I think this was at least for us, it was a good route to go. Um, we probably would have we maybe 2 or 3 years earlier we might have been okay,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think it worked out really well.
Well, good.
So far so good.
Yeah, when you're in.
Yeah, right. What have you had like a favorite age like range? I know, I'm sure that's it's like saying, do you have a favorite kid? Like it's
Yeah,
probably hard to pick,
there
but
are good things about each age, but when I think back, like, I think my favorite was when they were 4 and 6,
mm,
because it was like we got out of the really hard, really needy times, and like I said, 3.5 years of not sleeping when he turned 4, and then it changed.
yeah.
That was a good thing, but, um, I, like, vividly remember we went to Disney World for the first time
Mm,
that year, and just, like, watching everything through their eyes, and that just, wide-eyed wonder and excitement at everything was just really awesome. So I really
yeah,
I really liked that age for both of them.
yeah. I can imagine that being really cool, like experiencing that excitement through
Yeah,
them.
yeah, when they start to really get into, like, the magic of, Santa and the Easter Bunny and all that stuff, and they get really
Yeah.
excited about seeing characters and, things like that. It's really cool.
Um, yeah, because I grew up. We have a amusement park not too far from where I live,
Mhm.
but it's more roller coasters as opposed to like Disney being more thematic. Um, so 2 or 3 years ago, I went to Disney World, yeah, in Florida. Um, a friend of ours, her dad is retired and he works there, so we got in free. And I just remember like yeah, yeah. And I remember going there and just being like, this was before Max, and just being like, yeah, this isn't like that cool. I was a little disappointed,
Yeah,
um,
it's different
but
when you're a grown up and you don't have a kid with you to go through all that.
yeah, yeah. I imagine now taking Max as like a 5 or 6 year old, it would be a much different experience.
Yeah, definitely. You have to get the book so that all the characters can sign it and they can meet everything. And then we've been back since they've been older and they don't want anything to do with that. They just want to ride all the rides.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit sad because I was like, oh, well, you want to go meet Mickey? And they're like, no. Can I? We went through the Star Wars part and I was like, can I just go meet Kylo Ren real quick? I'll be right back.
That's awesome. Do they get into Star Wars?
Yes, yes, we watched all of it, and they don't collect any of the things or anything like that, but we definitely that's our Christmas Day tradition is when there's a movie out, we go see it.
Cool. Yeah, that's really cool. Uh, I when Max was a baby, and obviously he was. This was when he was like a baby, that like
Mhm.
first 4 or 6 weeks, and when I would get up with him to feed him at night, or if he just, because it took a while for him to get on that sleep schedule. So, if I was up with him at night, I started watching Marvel movies with him. So,
Oh,
so obviously he wasn't really watching, but I felt like that was a nice little bonding experience for us.
nice.
So yeah, we started watching the Marvel movies, and
Who's his favorite?
yeah, his favorite I think was Thor.
Oh, that's my 13-year-old's favorite is Thor.
Nice. Nice. That was the one he was at least most attentive during. So I just called that his favorite.
Absolutely. Give him a little hammer.
Yeah. We actually have this toy with a hammer, and it's like a wooden hammer,
Uh-huh.
and like it's almost like a whack-a-mole where you knock the thing down, another one pops up, and he goes to town with that thing.
Well,
So
there you go. Thor. That's channeling right there.
yeah. Now maybe that'll be Halloween next year.
Oh, perfect. That would be adorable. You have to get like little baby muscles and everything.
Yes.
Or you could do the later Thor with the gut. You could take
Yeah. He just needs to work on the hair. He's still lacking in the hair department.
I'll come. Give it time.
Yeah. He has like really blonde hair too. So what he does have, it looks like there's none there. So it's not doing him any favors.
He doesn't need it yet.
Yeah, he's rocking it. He's doing good. So I really want to know more about your work with kids and music.
Sure. Do you want to hear about Music Together? That's what I've done probably the longest. It's a national program, and so people run centers that run this program, and it's meant for parents and preschoolers, so 0 up to about 4, and you come to class together, and you just sit and you sing songs in a class together, and the idea really is not so much for the child to get all the input in class. It's really to teach families how to be musical at home, because 45 minutes once a week, that's great. But if you can integrate music at home, it's going to be really effective the rest of their lives. And there have been all these studies that show how important music is to brain development and how it connects to all other subjects, really. And how beneficial it is for it even like builds brain mass. So I always say the more music you can do, the better for your child. And so most parents, when their child is born, probably know about 5 songs to sing to their child. And if you think about that as a vocabulary, that's like, having maybe 5 paragraphs that you can say to your child. And so it's good. Then, if you can do those 5 songs, great, do those 5 songs. But each semester with this program, you'll learn like 30 songs. And they're all really simple, and they're not, you don't need to come in there with, an opera voice and be able to sing these perfectly at home. It's just get that conversation going musically at home. And so we give you ideas of how to do that and how to kind of integrate it into your life. And it really helps with transitions and routines to have little songs that you do, like when you're getting dressed or getting ready to get in the car, or of course a lullaby before you go to sleep. They just help signal like, okay, we're going into this next thing. So we teach a bunch of those to just help parents kind of get things going smoothly at home, and music helps with that. That's awesome.
Is there those studies today? Is it like a certain type of music, or just any type of music in general?
It's not recorded music. That's the thing. Like you can't.
Okay.
They used to tell you play Mozart for your baby and they'll be smarter. It's really not about that. It's about engaging with your child with music. So, that those Baby Bach or whatever they were, those came out when my kids were little, and and they liked those. But what they really wanted to do was sit down and bang in pots and pans and sing with us. And so, fortunately, that was what I did, so I could do that with them. But, the studies are more like you have to engage actively in the music with your child.
Okay. Yeah. I thought I was doing good because I play Max's favorite band so far is the Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, awesome.
Anytime I play, especially the song 1979. It starts, he'll stop in his tracks and just be like,
that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you can like dance with them while that's going on, or get out, some toys or pots and pans and get the rhythm going, then that takes it to the next level and even more.
Nice. And I'll do a lot of, like, I noticed where, like, if I'm changing them or if I'm doing something else, like I'll just be making up songs. Like
that is excellent. That you can keep doing that. That is fantastic. Because that's something that we try to teach reluctant parents, like, be silly, like make up crazy songs about changing your diaper or getting on getting ready for a bath or whatever.
Right.
And they're like, well, I don't want to do it in front of everybody. Well, doesn't matter. Don't do it in front of me. Do it in front of your kid. That's what matters.
Right. You can tell a difference though when you sing to them. Like Max will be so much more attentive.
Yeah.
If because I've just messed around with that where I'll just, instead of talking to him, I'll act like I'm in a musical and just start singing it to him, and he definitely, it draws his attention in way more.
Absolutely, it's completely engaging when you do that. They know, like, instantly, like, oh, it's about to be a show.
Yeah, right. So would you like make up songs in this program, or did you guys have?
We can, but what we usually do is we take songs and then we kind of spin them out into different things and substitute things and things like that. I mean, I can give you an example if you want.
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay, so there's a song, and I won't even do guitar with this. It's so simple. It's called Mary Wore a Red Dress, and it's just a traditional song, but you can take it, and then each verse, you can just change it up. So the basic song is, Mary wore a red dress, red dress, red dress. Mary wore a red dress all day long. Super simple. But then you would change it to, Daddy wore a trucker hat, trucker hat, trucker hat. Daddy wore a trucker hat all day long. Mommy wore pajamas, pajamas, pajamas. Mommy wore pajamas all day long. And then you can change it into, we're going to change your diaper, your diaper, your diaper. We're going to change your diaper all day long. So just take a simple tune and then just add and change and add and change, so that you don't feel like you're having to compose a whole new song as you go. Right. And then they'll learn that tune, and they'll know, oh, he's singing that song, it means I'm about to do this or that or whatever. And they just know, like, okay, anticipate this, and the transition is easier.
Yeah, I mean, the logic makes so much sense. Mm-hmm. Like, it's that's definitely a good message to get out.
Communicate as a culture, but we've totally gotten away from it. If you think about how many songs your grandparents knew or great grandparents that they used to sing all the time, because we didn't have all this internet and other distractions. Right. That was how we kind of had to entertain each other. And then somewhere along the line, and I always used to like blame American Idol on this, we decided that singing was only for special people who could really do it well. And that made everybody else just want to just stop singing. And it's really sad to me, because we're losing as a culture just making music as a community. Like, just get out and sing songs. But now you see those videos on Facebook of people in Italy that are quarantined and they're all singing on their balconies to each other. That's how the communities used to be. I mean, everybody would just get out and grab an instrument and just sit out in the street and sing together, because we didn't have TV and we didn't have all of these other distractions to take away from that. So I'm hoping that we can sort of get back to that in the midst of everything else, and just say, it's okay to just turn everything off and just sing a song.
Right. Yeah. It reminds me of, this was years and years and years ago. I dated a girl who was Italian, and her grandfather was from Italy. Mm-hmm. And her grandfather and grandmother from Italy. And I was in the car with him, and he had a tape, a cassette tape. So it was a while ago. Yep. But
or 90 something.
Yeah, it was him singing. And like he wasn't like a singer or anything, mm-hmm. But he had made it for his wife, I think maybe when it was his girlfriend at the time. But I just always thought that was so cool, especially because he had a tracheotomy when I knew him. So like he would play that to kind of remind himself of, yeah. So I was like, that's so cool to like have. I always thought that was really like not only like a romantic gesture to that he did in the first place. But like
Yeah.
to have later on, especially in his situation, to have that like reminder.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. How are you doing on your Taylor? You want to pour some Noah's Mill?
I do, but I'm gonna have to finish this real quick.
I've got just like
oh,
yeah. I noticed I was drinking a lot more throughout the event.
All right, I think I actually did kill that. So yeah, let's move on to the next one.
You didn't have to like shoot it.
No.
Okay. This Noah's Mill, like I said, this actually won. This was my absolute favorite of all the bourbons that I at least had at the time.
Yeah.
And
I forget how good it is.
Unfortunately, in Ohio, you can't buy it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know how Alabama is, but Ohio's a control state.
Yeah, we are too. We have ABC.
So everything has to run through the state, and for some reason, no willet products are in Ohio.
Oh, that's really sad.
I know, and that
Sorry.
I love a lot of stuff that they put out.
Yeah. Yeah. Willet is actually the first distillery tour that.
Cool. Yeah. That was. I toured there too, and that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, and now they're new and expanded and beautiful and everything. But even back in the day, there was just like the one building, and I remember we went in and they had just like a folding table in the back, and they were like, okay, which 5 bottles do you want to try? I'll just grab them from back here. Now they have this fancy bar and coffee shop and all this stuff in there, and it's beautiful. But even back in the day, it was really cool.
Yeah,
back in the day, it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, so it was probably about 3 years ago when I went too.
Yeah.
It just felt more intimate than a lot of the other tours.
Yeah.
Especially because the day I went, I think it was during my spring break, so it was like a weekday. It was raining, so it was just me and my wife and one other couple on the tour. So it was a fun experience. And then when we got to the pouring part at the end, the tour guide was just like, "I'll pour whatever you want." Yeah.
I think
there was no like real
limit about that now, but
yeah,
it's kind of fun when they go, okay, you want to try this one next or this one? And
yeah. I think it also helped too because my wife doesn't really like bourbon that much, so I mean, she would try it, but then I would finish her sample. Yeah.
And then hopefully drive you too, so you didn't even have to think about that.
Yep. We went on a couple. We went to Wild Turkey. Was one that we went to when she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And so then I got all of her samples.
Nice.
And then there was another girl there that was there with a friend that didn't like bourbon at all either. So she gave me her samples.
Oh wow! You had a good time then.
So yeah, I felt really good when I left that tour.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it was nice. It was nice that I had the designated driver for that.
Yeah, that's very helpful and necessary. All right, this is different. So I get like cotton candy off of this for sure. Like maybe a little bit burned cotton candy, but definitely some spun sugar.
I feel like it's probably power of suggestion, but I feel like I can kind of like smell that a little bit.
Now that I've told you, yes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I smell it now that you said that.
I never would have said that if you had not said that first.
But the weird thing about this is that you also get like this, like kind of some like pecans or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a real nuttiness to it.
Yeah. That's good.
I almost get like a s'mores also, like a chocolatey marshmallow aspect.
Yep. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and it's definitely, you can tell it's a little higher proof too.
Yeah.
than the
What is
Taylor.
the proof on this?
I think it's
Oh,
114.
114.
Yeah, 114.3.
0.3.
Yeah, you gotta have that 0.3 in there. All right, cheers.
Completely different from the Taylor.
Yeah, very much so.
On the palate, it's all, to me, totally nutty.
Yep.
Yeah. And then it gets kind of some baking spices after that, but right away what hits you is just like nuttiness.
Yeah, and it's almost like I still get some of that chocolate, but it's like a baking chocolate.
Yeah. Like
And yeah, and really, really nutty. Like very, very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, like, I feel like, the Taylor was easy to drink, but this is higher proof and it's goes down just as easily.
Yeah, it doesn't. I feel like you could smell that higher proof in in the nose, but yeah, on the palate, it goes down just the same.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot how much I like that one. I'm glad we
Yeah. Yeah, that's one that again is sad for me. Like I'm not gonna want to finish that bottle because
you can't
I can't just go buy it.
Yeah, no, who knows when you can drive down and get some from Willet.
Yeah, like I would have to at least drive this to Cincinnati and go across the river, which is about a little over 3 hours for me. So
okay,
yeah.
I was gonna say I think that's close to. So one of my favorite distilleries is New Riff, and that's right around there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's right across the river in Newport there. Yeah, I love New Riff.
Yeah. I miss my favorite bottle. One of my favorite bottles I've ever had was OKI back when they were first out and sourcing, and it was so good. And
I never was able to get my hands on OKI.
I just had the one, and it's sadly gone, but it was really good.
Yeah. I heard people like praising it, but I've been really impressed with what New Riff has put out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have
especially at 4 years old.
Yeah, a couple of single barrels of theirs that are amazing. That really love. It's fire.
I did an experiment with another YouTube channel, the Bourbon Buddies. I blinded them some samples, and I wanted to kind of test like this theory about age and price. So one of the samples I gave them was New Riff. One was Russell's Reserve 2002. So like a really like hard to find.
Yeah.
It's like I think that one was like 13 years old. Then I put in a really cheap bottle of just like Heaven Hill 6-year, the green label.
Yeah.
And then like a middle of the road. It was that pick of Jefferson's Reserve that I did.
Okay.
And they both picked the New Riff.
Oh, really?
It was like their favorite out of that flight.
Well, they're doing really good things there. I'm excited to see what keeps coming out from them.
Yeah, and one of the things you worked on with the ABV Network was it a documentary?
Yes. Yeah.
Kindred Spirits.
Yeah, about craft whiskey, and they were in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go there for that, or like?
I didn't go. I don't go when they're doing the filming, although sometimes I really want to because they talk to really interesting people, and I think I really need to go for musical inspiration and these people, but sometimes that's not possible. But they did do a screening there, so I went last spring, and they have a really nice event room upstairs, and Jay was there, and they screened it, and it was really nice. And I didn't take the tour, but the facility is just lovely.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful building on its own. But
and right on the river, and it's a cool story with them, with the party source and everything, and them deciding that they were just gonna kind of build right over this creek that was going through town and put a distillery there, and how as soon as they said distillery, the town people were like, okay, all right, go ahead. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just love that whole area there, that whole riverfront.
Yeah, it was my first time up that direction, and it's just a beautiful area.
Yeah, I try to get down there about once a year. I haven't been down there since Max was born, but just to spend a couple days in that area is always so fun. There's so much bourbon stuff you can do. There's so much just sightseeing and all that stuff to do, and there's great nightlife in that area too. So yeah, just a really cool spot. And then there's Boone County's not far from there, which I have not been to yet, but I do like a lot of the stuff they put out.
Yep, they're great.
Were they part of that documentary as well?
Yes, they were in that as well, and they were sourcing first,
Mm-hmm.
and the story there is it's kind of sad. They bought when you're sourcing, you buy barrels, and sometimes it's sight unseen, and you get a sample, you get a 2-ounce sample, and you go, okay, I want this, and then they send you thousands of barrels at whatever price it is that you have, but you're not allowed to inspect the stock. And so the story with Boone County was that they got all of these barrels, and I think it was maybe like 10% of them were empty, just dry. Wow. And, at a price per barrel, that was a huge loss for them. And so, they really kind of had to hope that they could make it up with the rest of what they had. And fortunately, it was an amazing product that they had gotten, and they did really well. And what they're putting out now is fantastic. That's their own. Right. In that time in between, because, when you start a distillery, you can't put out product right away unless it's wine or vodka. So you have to either sell that, or hand sanitizer, I guess. Or you have to source for a while and then hope that either you're going to make something that has a similar profile that people are going to like, or something that's just completely different that's excellent. And in their case, I think it's pretty different from what they were sourcing, but it's also really excellent now that they're rolling that out too.
Yeah, that's what I really like about what New Riff did, where when they were sourcing, it was a different product that had a different label, different name, and then as soon as they were ready to put out their own, they stopped that, and then it was just their own brand.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really good way to go about it.
Yeah, and that's some serious faith in what you're doing to say, okay, we're not doing this anymore. We're doing this, and we hope you like it.
Yeah, right. And I mean, most people they've been very well received. So yeah, like you said, they're definitely doing it right.
Yeah.
What's like the craft distillery scene in Alabama, like where you're at?
We don't have a whole lot down here. We have one that's in Birmingham that's called Dread River, and it's fairly new. And of course, most of them start with vodka and gin, and then move into whiskey. And so that's where they are now, where they're just putting out, it's maybe a 2-year whiskey. And I haven't had it straight. I had it in an old fashioned, and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's one that's around here. And then I'm trying to think of the name of the other one. It's one of those things where I'm on the spot and I'm forgetting what it is. But it's not a huge scene here for distilleries. One of the problems with our area is that it's rich in iron, which is not what you want for your water for bourbon. We actually do have limestone too, but I think the iron is more predominant. So you have to really heavily filter or bring in your water from somewhere else. And so we actually have a pretty big craft beer scene here, like Good People and Ghost Train and some other things that you might have heard of or from around here, and they do really well. But as far as hard liquor, Alabama's not really on the map.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think what's from Ohio other than Cincinnati things.
We have I don't know how well they distribute, but it's kind of a growing scene here. There's one of the ones that I think is doing it really well is called Middle West Spirits. They're in Columbus. They have a 4-grain, they call it their wheated bourbon, that's really good. And they have a pumpernickel rye, which is actually really good too.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder what that's like.
Yeah, it's different. But like in a really good way.
Cool.
There's one in Cleveland called Tom's Foolery that.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, the first couple of things they put out was kind of iffy, but I think now they're starting to kind of get to the right age.
Okay.
And they have a bonded that's pretty good, and their rye is pretty good too. And then there's Cleveland bourbon, which they try to do that scientific fast aging process.
Okay, how's that? No.
Yeah. No. You can't.
Actual time.
Yeah, you can't beat time. And there's some other ones. There's some other ones popping up. But so far, I think the best ones are the Middle West and the Tom's Foolery.
Okay. And I did remember the name of the other distillery that's from Alabama. It's called Detling.
Okay.
And they have a green label and a red label, and the red is much better, but there's neither one was my favorite.
Yeah. Do you like any other types of whiskey, or are you like mostly bourbon?
I'm really not much of a fan of Irish whiskey, I do like Macallan for Scotch. It's good, but no, I'm really more of a bourbon fan.
Yeah, me too. I try and I always feel like I'm just out of my wheelhouse when I'm drinking something else.
Yeah.
Like, there's a few Scotches I like. There's a few Irish whiskeys I like, but I don't think I would choose them on a regular basis over bourbon.
Yeah. As soon as I get any hint of peat, I'm just out.
Oh yeah.
That doesn't work for me. So.
Yeah, same. Very much the same. Yeah, I don't even like when American single malts. Like Stranahan has one that I just don't like. I don't like that flavor.
Yeah. And there needs to be a lot of corn in there before it's good.
Yeah, that's how we know we're truly American. We got to have all that corn.
All that corn.
Tell me a little bit about the ABV Network, because it's something I've heard of, and I'm kind of embarrassed because I do listen to some bourbon podcasts, but I haven't actually listened to one from the ABV Network, even though I've heard of it. So tell me a little bit about it.
Sure. It's actually the world's largest conglomerate of bourbon media.
Yeah.
And it's not that old. I mean, they started September 1st of 2016. So it hasn't been around that long. And the founder is Steve Akeley, and he has I don't know how he does it all, but he has a newsletter. It's called the Bourbon Zeppelin, and you can just sign up online for that. It's free. It's just an e-newsletter, and it has content from people, just enthusiasts. The whole company is just bourbon enthusiasts. And I think the motto is made for bourbon fans by bourbon fans. So this is not people that are outside that are professional writers that are writing about this. These are just people that are fans that are passionate about bourbon. And so, it's really kind of cool to you really feel that when you read or you listen to the content. It's people like you or me that just are fans that are talking about it.
Cool.
And they have 11 podcasts all about bourbon. The Bourbon Daily and the Bourbon Show are probably the two most popular. And then there's ones like the Bourbon Betties, which is all female, and then Booze and Bourbon, which is about ghost hunting in bourbon, which is kind of a cool combination.
Yeah.
And it's just all kinds of different things coming out daily. There's the Bourbon Breakdown is new, and they just kind of talk about, they take apart some pop culture thing, and while they're drinking and talking about bourbon too. So there's kind of something for everybody, and there's blog posts and magazine articles, and now with Bourbon Sasquatch as part of it, we do movies and we have a TV show coming out soon too. So there's all kinds of things to get into.
What's the TV show going to be about?
It's called Bourbon Reminiscing, and it started as a podcast, and it's actually kind of how I sort of got connected into what I'm doing now. I had some friends and we had an Instagram page, and we were kind of documenting our bourbon adventures, and he contacted us through that and said, "Hey, y'all look like fun. Come on a podcast." And so we did. And when we were on there, I talked about that I do music, and Steve emailed me and said, "Hey, I'm doing a new show, and it's about cheesy. We're talking about 80s things, and we're drinking bourbon, and can you write a cheesy theme song?" And so I did. And so that's kind of how I ended up where I was, but they decided to take it, kind of on the other side, and now it's a TV show, and so it's different people just talking about pop culture things from the 80s and early 90s. Well,
That
bourbon.
That sounds like right up my wheelhouse.
It's hilarious. And honestly, one of the funniest ones, I ended up going up to, have you heard of Neely Family Distillery? They're kind of
Yeah.
Sparta, Northern Kentucky.
Mhm.
And the whole family runs this distillery. And one of the distillers, his name's Papa, and he's, older and he's kind of crotchety, and he's like this a lot. But we got him on there, and I was kind of reading the prompts about what they were supposed to talk about, and he is hilarious. He is so funny when he's talking about satellite TV and all of these things. And he's like, well, I used to have to climb up there because I was the only one light enough that could shimmy up the pole and things. Yeah, he's quite a character, and it ended up being really funny.
Where's that going to be available at?
It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be on YouTube, but I don't know when. It's all finished. We've done a whole season, so it should be out shortly. I don't know when, but hopefully soon.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that out because
Yeah,
that sounds right up my wheelhouse. So
yeah, it is hilarious. The things that they bring up, you're like, oh, I forgot about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Back.
I'm a sucker for like 80s and 90s nostalgia. Right? I
Yeah.
mean, that was when I was growing up. So
Man, yeah. I keep hearing about like how Gen Xers are going to be the ones that survive all this because we were latchkey kids and we had to do everything on our own anyway, and we can eat food starts as powder.
yeah, there's been some really good memes about that going around.
Yeah.
Like they want us to lay on the couch all day.
Yeah, got it.
No problem.
I've done this since I was 7 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, it just totally describes me. I was totally a latchkey kid. Both my parents worked, and I came home and I turned on Woody Woodpecker, and I went and made myself some Kraft macaroni and cheese out of powdered cheese. Made it work.
Yep. Either boxes of cereal that's basically pure sugar, or mac and cheese with
Tang, Kool-Aid.
Yeah. I used to have this thing with Kool-Aid. I'm on this mission to find out if I'm the only person that ever did this.
Okay.
But when I would make Kool-Aid, I would always, because you always had that like designated Kool-Aid container.
Yes, the top.
Yeah. But so I would never finish the Kool-Aid. I would always leave just the tiniest bit in the bottom, and then on top of that, I would make the new batch of Kool-Aid.
Ooh, a different flavor or the same?
Yeah, usually a different flavor.
Oh, so you get a little mix in there.
Yeah.
I had an infinity bottle of Kool-Aid.
No wonder I got into bourbon when I got older. Yeah, I never thought of that. A Kool-Aid infinity. Yeah. That's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, I never did that. I would drink it all and then start over again.
So yeah, as far as I know, if anybody watching has ever done that, let me know, because I've never met anybody in person that has done that also.
I feel like the time is now to bring it back.
Yeah. I miss Kool-Aid. Like it would go so fast though. Anytime you would make Kool-Aid, it would last 20 minutes.
Oh yeah. All the friends, and you pour it and be gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like it's not acceptable to give it to your children anymore for some reason.
I mean, it's basically sugar water. So yeah.
Thrived on it.
Look how well we all turned out.
Look at us. We're perfect.
No issues whatsoever.
Not at all.
What do you have any parenting advice or tips, or just anything in general that all your years of experience, being a veteran parent, that you can impart to a new parent like myself?
I think I would just say be authentic, because I think I see a lot of parents who are new, who are trying to step into this role as parent that is different from who they really are as a person. And your kids can sense that. So don't turn it off and turn it on, or be one person for your kids and another person for the rest of the world. Just kind of be who you are, and your children will appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
And then I'd say another thing is be prepared to follow through with whatever it is that you tell your children. I cannot tell you the number of times that I have seen parents threaten things that then they don't follow through on. And so all that teaches your kid is it doesn't matter. So if you tell them, if you do that one more time, we are leaving the store, you got to be prepared to leave the store. You can't just say, okay, if you do it one more time, leave the store, and then don't do it. So whatever it is that you have set as your limit, you got to follow through with it, or all it teaches them is it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I was listening to a podcast, a really good dad podcast, because there's not a ton of dad podcasts out there.
There really aren't.
Yeah, like, and same with YouTube. Like, there's a lot of mom stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few dad stuff here and there, but it's mostly like mom dominated. But four dads. So there's four dads.
Yeah, nice.
But the one guy was talking about just that. He said that his daughter, he said she tested his gangster.
Oh,
he like said something,
Yep.
If you do this, I'm going to do this, and then she kept doing it. So he's like, well, he's like, I had to throw the toy away. Like,
yeah, if you throw it down, you got to be prepared to do it.
Yeah, that is really good advice, because I feel like you kind of see that a lot. Maybe a lot's a bad term, but you do see sometimes the parents or the kids that are used to hearing what their parents are saying, but then never really receiving that consequence.
Right.
And then, like, what all that teaches them is that they can get away with whatever they want.
Carries through to the teenage years, and that is when it is serious. So you need to know that the limits need to be set early on, and they need to be followed through with, or it's just going to get worse.
Yeah, I feel like we're just venturing into that territory where Max is understanding things a lot more now. And if you try to tell him not to do something, he does like get really upset about it. And like, it's not, I'm not going to be like too harsh now. He's 13 months old. Like, but at the same time, like I can see that if I would just completely let that go, I can see how that would just kind of build into him always being used to getting whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
And then that being a nightmare.
It seemed easy in the moment just to give in, just go, fine, it's just do whatever. But
yeah,
the long-term consequences are not good. So just be consistent from day one. And whether that is whatever punishment you've instituted or just natural consequences, just children want limits, and they push those limits because that is how they're programmed, and that is how they learn what the limits are. And if you are consistent with them, then they will be consistent with you. It's just kind of how it works. And if you teach them that those boundaries are flexible and that it doesn't really matter, then they don't have that stability that they really want and they really need. So it's not that they're really trying to do things that all the time that are bad. They just want to know, like, okay, what are my boundaries? Because boundaries and limits are safety for them. And so they're trying to figure out what those things are. So if you show them consistently, then they feel safe and they feel better.
Yeah, that's really good advice. On that note, I want to start to wrap this up with going. It's been a really quick hour.
No, I know. We barely touched on anything, and here we are.
I know. I feel like I could keep this going all night. But if people wanted to find you on like social media or whatever, where could they find you?
I'm on Facebook at Susie Youngson, and then Instagram, it sounds like bourbon.
And that's where I found you, was on Instagram.
Yeah. So, and then you can follow Bourbon Sasquatch and all that stuff there too.
Cool. Cool. Do you want to take us out with a song?
Okay, yeah. So I have two, and I was gonna let you pick because I couldn't really decide what I wanted to do.
Okay.
So I have one that's like a cheesy song where I tried to put as many bourbon names and references in as I could, and then one that's sort of like a drinking breakup song. So what do you think?
That's a tough choice.
I know.
I'm a sucker for a good cheesy song now.
Okay,
So
we're gonna go with the cheesy song. So this
yeah.
is called Bottom of the Bottle. And I'll just challenge you to see how many references and cheesy puns about bourbon that you can pick up on in this song. So,
Okay, cool. I like that. That's fun.
all right, hopefully I'm still in tune. If I'm not, just forgive me and carry on.
I wouldn't know anyway.
Good. I always find you at the bottom of the bottle. Don't even mean to try. So I'll just drink to your memory, having its way with me night after lonely night. William LaRue won't help me forget you. Taylor told me you still care. Elmer Teely said you're looking for me, but there's still not a trace of you anywhere. But I always find you at the bottom of the bottle. Don't even mean to try. So I'll just drink to your memory, having its way with me night after lonely nights. Damn that George Dickel, if I had a nickel, I'd be rich on wasted time. And Jack's little proof didn't tell me the truth. I thought Tennessee boys were supposed to be refined. But I always find you at the bottom of the bottle. I don't even mean to try. So I'll just drink to your memory, having its way with me night after lonely night. I cried on Elisha's shoulder. Old Fitz heard my lovesick moan. With Evan I bonded and Henry responded, but I'm still on this hill and I am drinking all alone. And I always find you at the bottom of the bottle. I don't even mean to try. So I'll just drink to your memory, having its way with me night after lonely night. I always find you at the bottom of the bottle. I don't even mean to try. All right, did you count a few in there?
Yeah, I had to stop counting. They were racking up. But that was awesome. I really enjoed that.
Thanks.
I really liked the Heaven Hill verse.
I really try to stack them all in there.
That was really good. Susie, thank you so much for being here. Greatly appreciate it. Fantastic talk. Like I said, could keep talking for hours.
I know. Well, maybe I'll come back and we'll have a whole nother conversation about when my kids are in college.
That would be perfect. That would be perfect. Thank you so much, Susie.
Cheers.
Cheers.